the next level? What's the next step? How can we be better? Accreditation should be looked at as a standard. It's where we are, it's where we should be, but what's that next level that we know our students and our teachers can get us there? Right? The discipline levels. How are we approaching discipline? Are we approaching it from a restorative justice standpoint? Is the way we're approaching discipline right now working for our students? Should we look at it differently? We want to know what you guys are doing and what you guys continue to plan to do in the future if it is, Lord, is changing. Attendance. That's a nationwide and definitely a statewide focus right now. Attendance. So we would like to look at giving an update on the attendance. We've seen the numbers of how it was or how it's been locally in Martinsville, just throughout the country and state, and we would like to get some information on that. The vocational programs. We talked about the vocational programs. We've been talking about them since January, at least. So we'd like to know where we're at. We're eager to get started. We do have some plans or some ideas that are developing with different partners throughout the city that may be helpful as well. And last is communication. We got to communicate better. We got to communicate with citizens better, parents, staff members, everybody. From a financial standpoint, and that's something that the council is working on for the city. Financially, our average citizen needs to be able to pick up our budget and just read it and know what it says. And that's the same thing for the schools. We want to eventually get to a point where we're putting out handouts or Facebook captions of what our budget looks like on a quarterly basis, or at least a half-a-year basis, so that our citizens know where their money is going and how and we're being good stewards of it. So we want to increase that communication and just communication overall to where when we sit down, it's not just actually official. We're just having a powwow and just focusing on vision and where we'd like to go in the future. So I'll open it up for you guys.
Dr. Talley, would you like to address any of the...
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and to the board chair, members of the council, and the school board. Thank you for inviting us to come today to the retreat. Joint meeting. Mr. Mayor, you posed quite a significant questions, and that's fine. We're prepared to answer all of them. Academically, we certainly appreciate acknowledgement of the accomplishments of the past 7 years. We know that's a benchmark. Some people say politically, man, I don't get into politics because I hear about kids, that's not an accurate benchmark. But right now, 75%, or 3/4 of our schools have triennial accreditation. Search around the state, and we'll find 75%. So, to me, accreditation is important. It's not the most important thing. Really, turning out great kids, citizens, most of them, it's just one measurement. But we're real happy that we've got the highest level of pay. And we continue to process that and go forward. We have above the state average in terms of graduation rate. It's higher than the state average. We continue to stay out on that. It's important that we get to 100%, we're in the 90s, but we want all of our students to graduate. That's so important. And of course, we are focusing on trades, and I think I've spoken to some of you individually. My desire to open back up the shop there for trades, and we've got some of that in work. And Angela's probably talk more about credentials, what the kids have there. And so I'm going to turn it over to some people to let them make some presentations. Feel free to stop, ask questions, or whatever you need.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have any agreements with PH? I know that Henry County does have some agreements with PH where students do go out, to the campus, real early in the morning, then they go back to the school in the afternoon. Do we have an agreement such as that with Patrick and Henry right now?
Absolutely. We've had it for years. Yeah, our students are there too. I go every year back to their graduation or whatever the exercise are. But we've been doing that for years. How many years, Angela?
And what are we offering?
We've got welding,
we've got precision machining. We were offering HVAC until PH had trouble with staffing with that during the day. That's been one of the issues, is a lot of the people they used to instruct work during the day at their trade. But we offer our kids everything they have available for them for trade. Yes, we do.
And the long-term goal is to reopen our shop back. The first class that Ms. Hines is working on, just about the college class, is to open up that building, one room back at a time. It's there, it's used for storage, but we can make better use. It's, it's paid for, it's there. So in conjunction with whatever's going on with PH, we hope to open our own brand. Plus, our kids are doing a lot of entrepreneurship, both in the school and the middle school. We've opened a store here, along with a store in the middle school, where kids are producing their own goods and selling them. Because we also have them going uptown working apprenticeships.
We have apprenticeships and work-based learning opportunities for students, and we try to assist with transportation so there are no barriers for any student participating in that.
So we have a plethora of things that we're doing, but my main focus is to get some more things back at the shop area and expand that, because we're taking a part of everything Patrick Henry offers. We're at their meetings when they have regional meetings. We're totally immersed.
What does that attendance or participation rate look like with the students who are in the programs? How many students, what percentage of students do you have?
Well, I have to look. Each program, we're allotted so many slots, just like Union County is, so it varies by program. For example, our CNA, all slots are filled. Our welding, all of our slots are filled. I'm pleased to say PNA recognized us for having 3 females in the welding program. We're really trying to get non-traditional students, so it's available to all students. So the programming depends on the number of slots we're allotted, which, like with welding, they've got so many stations. So we kind of work with them on the numbers. We've got some information in this presentation from the state on our credentialing and our pathways percentages. I don't have those numbers now. Typically, we do that in the fall student record collection, and that won't start that process till September 30. But I have information from last year.
Angela, would you go into a little bit just a bit of what credentialing does? Because our students will all graduate with that first class. What that does to students.
Yes, well, there are a couple of things. There's industry certification, which is based on a skill. I can get a certification in Microsoft Office and PowerPoint. Those are very much skill-based. Then there are industry credentials. Our students graduated last year with that CNA credential. They were licensed CNA. When they finish welding, they will have that credential. A credential is more than just a skill. It's a program. So I've gone through the program, gone through multiple classes, and I have that credential. I will go out there and be a licensed welder.
So they can go directly to the workforce.
Yes, yes.
So that's what we are. We're part of every program that Patrick Henry has, and we're trying to expand our own here. So this gives students multiple pathways. And also military. I'm very thankful that the high school continues to recruit young people to serve the country too. We have military people who come, especially on the lunch block, and talk to young people about opportunities in the armed services. So students here can go wherever they want to go. And we just want to prepare them with the basic opportunity, reading, writing, comprehension, because most companies are not still looking for people with specific skills, but people especially that they can train. Can you do basic math? Can you read? Can you soft skills? Can you get along with people? Those things are vital to what we're doing. We're involved in every program that they have. I think it's reasonable. I never wanted JROTC cut. It was a former superintendent, and you were there. I think you were on council. I was there. They decided to deduct that from basically what we do. I never agreed with that because it teaches the discipline that some young people need. We've had people such as Mr. Williamson who leave here, go in the military, do well, come back. Johnny also. We have several veterans who've done well. So I've always thought that I hadn't even thought about linking up with Bassett. It has the lesser number. I've talked several times to Sarah saying that he was gone, but about that Magnum Vista has a stronger program, but Bassett is very small. What we could do to just combine and be able to get some of our kids out there if it fits inside of the block schedule, because the kids here have to have a certain amount of required hours. But absolutely, it's just that there's a cost. Everything that we talk about, there is a cost to it. I welcome it because it never should have been, in my opinion, should have been cut in the first place. But again, I had no say, and this was the wishes of the administration. But needed. What young person doesn't need discipline? What young people really wants to serve our country shouldn't get an opportunity to go. But some kids not interested in college. They want to travel. They want a military experience. And that's great.
Kind of switching gears a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Back to academics. What are we looking like right now, and what are some of the challenges that you're seeing that we need to be aware of?
Okay, let's do this. Let's go ahead and ask Mr. Wright to come and talk about the article that was in the bulletin, and then I'm going to have Dr. Downey come after him and show you where current update of where we are now. And then if you have questions, please take notes or anything you want to question, they'll be glad to answer. Okay? It's going to be here.
Well, they also have a copy of it. This is the black and white copy with a big old binder that binder does.
You got a copy. Move your file.
Do I? Oh, sure. Yeah. Is that any better, folks? Oh, sure. Sure. Yes. So it's on the screen there. It's also, you have a piece of paper there if you want it as well. Good evening. My name is Mr. Kerry Wright, Coordinator of Humanities and Advanced Programs for our school district. Humanities means English and Social Studies. So I've been here 3 years and I love it. So from the very beginning, I just want to put my sources in a lot of research projects and papers that you've read. Their sources sometimes come up at the end. I just wanted to let all of you know that these sources are fully available. Many of them were referenced by this article that was in the Martinsville Bulletin. All of our state data has been released recently, and that's the last link in this presentation. So these are clickable links when you find it online. So you can easily access these sources yourself. So why is it important? You know, when the Martinsville Bulletin puts out an article like this, sometimes Brad Pitt does not respond to all of the tabloids that come out about it. But we feel that this is important for us to respond to this kind of an article. Our parents in this district need to trust us. You said earlier, Mayor, about being good stewards of taxpayer money. We need to be good stewards of taxpayer money. Students need proper preparation. They need to feel confident in their school choice and know that they are being prepared for their futures. Current and future businesses who want to invest in our area need to know that we are putting out solid students who are ready to work, ready to open their own businesses. And it is a competition for enrollment. Most of our budget is driven by, or a lot of our budget is driven by our student count, where we receive federal money for the number of students that are in our seats. So it is a competition for enrollment. And anyone who's working in public education, my hat's off to you. We're right there in the trenches with you. This is not anything against anyone else in public education. This is just highlighting some of what we do. So what does it mean to be the best? That was part of the headline that came out. There are many ways to rate something or to give grades. I see some of you on city council here have a laptop or a tablet or a cell phone. Somehow you decided to purchase that one based on some criteria that you had in your head. U.S. News and World Report used their own criteria. What are the criteria that they chose for their ranking system? So there are several different agencies and groups that give feedback to our school system, and they have their own criteria. The first one that I'll mention is the federal pass rate. This comes to us from the federal government. Whenever we have tests, we get a federal pass rate. This is a straight pass rate. There's no growth involved here. It's just, do your students pass the test or not? So here's an example of what that looked like for our high school reading. And all of the presentation and all the data in my presentation will be just from the high school. Dr. Downey is going to come and talk about the school district overall. And that's in response to the article about the high school. So you can see how we have progressed over the last couple of years with our federal pass rate. We're above the state level now. That number is 85%. That's what we did at the end of 22-23. And again, if you guys have questions or anything, please feel free to stop me as I'm rolling through. Another agency that gives us criteria and feedback on our performance is the state. Sometimes you might hear someone say VDOE, or the Virginia Department of Education. These state numbers include growth. They include recoveries. They include reduction in failure efforts, substitute tests, English learner progress. So they'll take that very flat pass rate and add to it a little bit. So you can see here, and keeping in mind that 2021 was our first year of the state testing after the closing of schools, our high school reading rate is 93%. So you can see that's a little bit higher than the 85% because it has some of those extra features in there as well. So now we get to the U.S. News and World Report. They came out with their 23-24 best high school rankings. They also decided to include an article that said, here's how we calculated it. Here's how we figured out this criteria. So I'll quote from that article tonight at the beginning of each of these presentations. So how did they come up with theirs? They decided that they wanted to measure college readiness. Sounds great. They wanted to measure college curriculum in breadth. They wanted to measure state test proficiency. They wanted to measure state assessment performance. They wanted to measure how we do with our underserved population. And they wanted to measure how our graduation rates are. All of those sound great. Let's see what they mean. College readiness and breadth. So those two together account for 40% of their rubric, which is a pretty heavy chunk. What do they mean by college readiness? One is a participation rate from, did the kids take an AP test? First of all, did they take a course? Then as a senior, did they take the test? And then as a senior, did they get a qualifying score? That means you have to get a 3 or a 4 on your test. You have to score at a certain rate of quality. So that's how they're determining 30% of their rubric. Next, the College Curriculum Breadth Index is talking about, did you take a course? Did you take the test? Did you pass the test with a certain level of excellence in more than one course? And they gave full marks if a student did that in 4 different courses. So you can see that they are very heavily putting weight on their rubric on, did kids not only take an AP course, did they take the test, did they score well on the test, and did they do that in multiple classes? So I'm not faulting them for that. That's just the way they set up their criteria. So how did we do advanced placement classes at Martinsville High School? We have students who stay on this campus and take advanced placement courses from what looks like a regular high school teacher, but that high school teacher has a master's degree. That, because they go through that program with that teacher, and that teacher gets the curriculum approved by Patrick and Henry Community College, that is concurrently enrolled students. We also have students, you mentioned before, do our students go over to Patrick and Henry Community College for the trades? They also go over there for academic classes as well. We have two programs. One is the Accelerated College Education Program, and one is Governor's School. Those are dual enrolled classes where the students go to that campus, take a class from a college professor, and then our Patrick and Henry Community College partnership provides college credit for passing the class. If you pass the class, you get college credit. The AP exam in this situation is not needed to earn a college credit. So we don't take those tests. So already you can see if the U.S. News and World Report is saying that 40% of their rubric is based on did you take the course as a senior, did you take the test, and did you pass the test at a certain rate of excellence, we're not even participating in 40% of that rubric. Now, U.S. News and World Report mentioned somewhere along the line that they would do some math equation to balance it out for systems like ours that didn't do that, but that is not readily apparent that we can find. So, I've been an AP teacher in another district for many years. I know that the AP College Board philosophy is having access to a rigorous curriculum. They want as many kids signed up in those classes as possible. They really don't care if you take the test. They're happy if students have access to that curriculum. They've done their research. They know students are going to do better in college. Even if they don't do well in a class here in high school, they're going to get that benefit when they go to college later, just by having access to it. So, in a lot of the rest of these slides, I'm going to present some information that has come out from the state of Virginia on different facets of our program. AP course enrollment. So for our student body, you can see in the middle row there of 564 students, we have 161 from last year who were enrolled in an AP course. That's 28% of our students. You can see the numbers then for the other schools in our area that were noted in that article. Some of those numbers are pretty interesting to me. Okay. Next, state test proficiency. How well did you do on your state test? Now, we're moving into an area now where we participate 100% in this category. From the article, the Math, Science, and Reading Proficiency Indicator is a simple measure of schools' student performance on these assessments. Great. We took math tests, we took science tests, we took reading tests. We dug in a little bit deeper to see how did U.S. News and World Report, which years are they talking about? This is the 23-24 ranking, of course, that's the title of the article. The state assessment proficiency indicator is either based on 2021 or 2018-19 or on an average of those 2 years. It's a little bit interesting when they throw a statement out like that. It's hard to know exactly where they pulled their data from. So that's just the way they have their language. Those are their words. So how did we do on our state tests? Looking at how we did last year at the high school in reading, math, and science, those are our scores. Those are the scores compared to 3 other schools in our area. Okay. So next, state test performance. U.S. News and World Report is going to look at the state of Virginia with schools that serve similar demographic characteristics of students, and they are going to predict at how well they think we should do on our state tests. Now, again, this comes from 2021, or 2018-19, or a blend of those years. Who knows? With that being the case, we compared ourselves to 3 other schools in our state that serve similar students in terms of race and ethnicity and poverty levels. Again, all of these numbers are readily available for everyone to see. There's nothing that I'm doing to these numbers at all. This comes straight from the state website. And next, we have 2 more to go. Underserved. U.S. News Report says This is a measure looking at your Black, Hispanic, and low-income students. Those were their choices of what they wanted to do. They decided to compare it to the rates of non-underserved students. We just went ahead and showed you how well we did in those three, what we call subgroups. And this comes from 2018-19, again, before the pandemic. Now, who are these folks? I decided to go ahead and put this in color, so I spent a little bit of my color cartridge here for you on my slides. And I know that the font is a little bit tiny there, I'm sorry. But you can see that we don't look like these other schools do in our area based on race and ethnicity. That's just what it is. For those of you following along in the audience, the orange group is our white students, and the navy blue group is our Black students. The gray group is our Hispanic students. Oh, you can get blue. There it is. So there's no judgment to be made on those subgroups. That's just who we have. And this is based on fall 2022 data. When we went to this fall 23, the poverty level at Martinsville High School crossed a threshold to where we are now rated as a Title I school because of our level of economically disadvantaged students. So that number is only growing, and what we see at our elementary and middle schools is only going to continue to grow. Okay, the next slide does talk about our economically disadvantaged students. For those of you in the crowd, the economically disadvantaged piece of pie is gray. All other students are navy. So when it comes to our underserved students, by their terms, this is what these schools look like. Okay, and so then the next slide shows you how well we are doing in each of those areas of reading and math for each of those three subgroups. We decided in school board, we added some numbers here to this slide for you to see what percent of that population are we really serving. So for example, when you look at Black reading, and we're getting an 85% pass rate at Martinsville High School, that's 56% of our population. That means something to us when that's a majority of our students, and we're doing that well. Again, I think there's some interesting comparisons to schools in our area. Okay, so I know there's a lot of numbers on that slide. So graduation rate, last one I think. So among students who entered 9th grade in the year 2017-2018, did they graduate in 4 years in 2021? Please keep in mind there was a little COVID pandemic in the middle of that. I can't imagine how hard that would be for a student to have their high school years marred by that tragedy. That's something, when we all imagine what we went through in high school, I think it was hard enough for some of us to graduate in 4 years, much less having to have that. So the graduation rate, straight from the U.S. News and World Report numbers, we're not doing too bad. Again, Dr. Talley says we want 100%. I'm right there with you. But compared to schools in our area, we're not doing too bad. So, the end of this Martinsville Bulletin article talked about the #1 school in the country was just down the road in Greensboro, North Carolina. What did they look like? Just to let you know, they had a total of 197 students. 48% of those students were Asian. 4% of those students were economically disadvantaged. So when you're thinking school board and city council about having a school system that serves a certain population of students, you see in front of you tonight in this room administrators who run buildings full of amazing staff that serves this population that has a tremendous amount of need. And we're able to get those numbers academically from those students. They come through all of the buildings of the principals you see in front of you here and come to our high school, and we're producing these kind of numbers with our faculty and our staff with those type of students. I would be curious to take some college graduates and go to that school down in Greensboro and see how hard it would be to work in that district to get those numbers. We know what we do every day by the sweat of our brows and by the love in our hearts for these students. And so we just want to let you know. So now, let's see some facts that were not even included in U.S. News and World Report that we think are important. College and career readiness. You mentioned before, some of you up here on City Council, about what do these numbers look like for our students. Now, across the top row are the total number of students at each of those schools. Dr. Downing mentioned that an industry certification is much more like a skill. A credential earned could be multiple certifications to include in a path. Then you also see students who have earned more than one credential. And then you see a category called a CTE completer, where they have not only taken one, they've taken a sequence of classes and passed the industry certification. The work that Shauna Hines is doing in this program is nothing short of revolutionary. And again, when you compare it to the rest of the schools in our area, and then Dr. Talley says we're going to open up our own here, watch out. We're on the right path when it comes to college and career readiness. So, takeaways that I see and many of us see is that we are definitely competitive on most of these measures here at the high school. In no areas are we glaringly low, and in some areas we are clearly ahead of other schools, not only in our area, but in the state. And so if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to get in touch with me at any time, and I'll be happy to talk about it.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I see we have some opportunities in the science department. What challenges are we facing there?
Here comes Dr. Downing. Any other questions that I might field, or I appreciate your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Good evening. With science in particular, there are a couple of things that are going on with that. Well, one is many of the science tests are cumulative tests. For example, the 8th grade test covers 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And for those tests, many of the children were remote for 2 of those grade levels. So that was a lot to make up for in 1 year. 5th grade is also a cumulative test. Then you get to biology, and many of those students, their life science in middle school was done remotely. So those teachers that at the biology level are working to fill those gaps that the students missed because of remote instruction. Add to that, this year, the state introduced new science standards and new science tests. And every year in the state, when you have a new test, you see scores drop. What I will show you, and this was our goal, our scores either grew or they held. We didn't drop. And that was quite a bit to that. I can tell you that the state is working to predict science scores, so I asked them how they were going to do that when they only have 3 data points, 5th, 8th, and like biology, that those are cumulative tests, and they said it was based on reading. That the science test is also a reading test. And if you want to take a look at one of those, I'll be glad to show you. It's very interesting. So that's what's going on with science. The state is struggling with science because of those reasons. Any other questions? I'll talk about science a little more, but that's what's going on with science.
And if you would like to, it's all on the BDOE website. Look at the schools around. I would do that at large first, look at the science scores, and then go back and look at the schools who are pretty much similar to Martinsville, and look at their scores, and you'll see that.
Yeah. So we're focusing a lot on science. We did last year. We're continuing that work with a lot of professional development for our teachers, and working with our students to build that science. But those are the 2 main factors that we saw happening with science. Any other questions before I start this question? So where Mr. Wright was really looking at the high school and answering that article, I'm looking at everybody. And my presentation, I have 22-23 data because that's where this data comes from. It's kind of a confusing thing, but our 23-24 accreditation is based on last year's data. So I wanted to keep what set of data, whereas US News and World Report, where it could be 2021, it could be 18-19. I want to be very clear, this is last year's data. And I am a math person, so I'm going to struggle. I did, I went alphabetically to the 2 elementaries and then moved up middle to high school. I included here pass rate and combined rates. And Mr. Wright referenced what a federal pass rate is. It's just who passed over who tested. Whereas the combined rate has growth, some different pieces like that in it. Now, the years across the top are the administration year. Again, the testing year from which the data was taken. 18-19, that was the testing year before we shut schools down in 1920. So that was the last year of testing prior to school shutdown. If you look at Albert Harris on that, we have a pass rate of 56 for English. However, the combined rate was 72. So that looking at that difference shows you how much growth, and these are percentages, how much growth you had for those students who were below proficient. Their math that year was at 74, and I can tell you the state benchmark for that was 70. And their combined rate was 81. Also, their science was at 75. So notice that science, that's when children had been in school for all the years of the curriculum they were being tested on. They were at 75 and their combined rate was at 78. Also look at chronic absenteeism. At that point, Albert Harris had a chronic absenteeism of 10%, which was considered level 1 or satisfactory for the state. Then you move to 2021. 2021 was our first year of testing after the closure. 1920 we closed. 2021 we were closed for much of that year. We brought in some of our at-risk groups. But we did, our transportation department ran those buses and picked up any student who showed up for testing. We tested most of our students. So those numbers include most of our students. You can really see in this the impact of school closure. The pass rate for English was 33%, math was 21%, and science was 11%. So from before the school closure to after it, you can see the struggles that students were having with learning. There was no combined rate data for that year because there was no accreditation that year. Combined rate is used for the accreditation. Now the chronic absenteeism was 4.6%, but we had a lot of ways that students could be present, logging into Canvas, turning in assignments. There are a lot of different ways for that. Looking at 21-22, that was the first year of accreditation after the closing of schools. We started moving forward. I do love it.
It's a high school. It's a high school. It's fall. It's
You know me, I'm a dancer. You play music, I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna hold it together, okay? Look at 21-22. Our pass rate for English had gone up to 50 to 51%. That was from the 33% when we first came back. So that's a lot of movement forward for our students. Our pass rate for math had gone up to 48, and for science had gone from 11% to 24%. So we're starting to work to recover that. And then again, looking at those combined rates, you can see if you compare the pass rate to the combined rate from 51 to 82, that 82% shows how much growth we helped those students make who had especially gotten behind with remote learning. Now, chronic absenteeism across the state was a problem coming off of the closures of schools, so we were at 38% in Albert Harris. Looking at last year's data, you can see we're still moving forward. Our pass rates are going up, our combined rates are going up, and you see our science went up even with that new test. So that was part of our goal, to either grow or at least not lose any ground. And I want to look at their chronic absenteeism. They reduced that from 38% to 17%. And that was a lot of teamwork within the school, and you'll see this in our other schools, and a lot of work with community agencies. And I commend our community and our community agencies for supporting us in getting our students in school. Any questions on that slide? Okay, looking at Patrick Henry. Again, I've got the same setup, 18, 19. You can see the pass rates were 72, 82, and 70. We were doing well. Our combined rates were 83%, 90%, and 75%, with chronic absenteeism at 3%. So we were moving strong before the
the school shutdown, the pandemic. Again, looking at 2021, you can really see the impact of that. That dropped from 72 to 45, 82% in math to 26%. Especially elementary school, math is very hands-on with manipulatives. We sent home manipulatives, and families did their best, but it just wasn't the same as having that time with the teacher. And then science dropped from 70 to 22. The chronic absenteeism remained at 3%. Again, there was no data for the combined rate. If you notice in 21-22, we're starting that move up with the pass rates and with our combined rates. We're getting closer to where we were. And then you've got that 48% on the science for 21-22. Again, that was a cumulative test, and students hadn't been in for that content for 2 years. Another struggle with chronic absenteeism that year, but looking at 22-23, we're moving back towards where we were before the school closures, and we reduced that chronic absenteeism to 13%. And it's the same type of thing with the middle school. You can see we were 18-19, we're moving strong, we're continuing to go forward, and then you can really see the impact of those school closures and those scores for the pass rate and the combined rate. And then we continue to move, and that's what we're looking for, 21-22 and 22-23. We're still moving forward. We're still pushing to make up for that lost ground for our students, pull in those skills that they might have missed while still maintaining a focus on grade level skills. And I want to note that 21-22, chronic absenteeism was 14%, which wasn't too bad considering what was happening at that time across the state. But look at 22-23, chronic absenteeism was at 9% for Martinsville Middle School. In fact, Martinsville Middle School was recognized by the Virginia Department of Education for best practices for chronic absenteeism and asked to present to other school districts. And I would be remiss if I didn't, again, thank our community agencies that supported us. With that, we tried to take as much as possible in all schools, a root cause analysis, reaching out to families. What's the problem? What can we provide to support you in getting your student here? Because we're on the same team, we want the same thing. And then Martinsville High School, you see the pass rate and the combined rates. And again, you can see that same progression, the same issues in 21-22 with that 32% chronic absenteeism. We have worked to reduce that. One issue that we faced at the high school during the pandemic, a lot of our teenagers got jobs during the day. They were helping to support their families. They could log into Canvas at night, get their work done at night, and then coming off of that, a lot of them are still trying to work jobs and come to school because there was a great economic impact on families with a lot of the school closures. Especially I was reading an article recently about the recession that was really caused by the issue of women in the workforce. A lot of women had to leave work to stay home with kids because there weren't schools. They were having to teach them. A lot of women work in hospitality, and a lot of that shut down with restaurants and things like that. So that was one of the big issues with that. So we saw a lot of our teenagers working to help support their families. So we're still working on that and working with their families to continue to improve that. Any questions so far? Now looking at triennial accreditation, what is it? This comes straight from the Code of Virginia. It's Standard 3, the Standards of Quality, and the bold is really where it comes into play. The board shall review annually the accreditation status of all schools in the Commonwealth. The board shall review the accreditation status of the school once every 3 years if the school has been fully accredited for 3 consecutive years. So the board's saying, you've got it going on, we'll keep an eye on you, but you don't have to make it every year because we trust what you're doing. And as Dr. Talley mentioned, it's very unusual for a school division to have that many schools with triennial accreditation. We now have 3, Albert Harris, Martinsville Middle, and Martinsville High School. But that does not mean we hit cruise control because we're here for our students and to make sure our students get what they need. We look at their families, we look at their faces every day, and we own that. We have that moral imperative to do what we need to do for our students because it's about once they, and I'm getting a little passionate, But once they cross that stage of graduation, what does it look like for them? What is their future? Because what we do impacts the future of people. And that's what we're about.
Thank you, Dr. Dowd. Any questions for Dr. Dowd?
Well, I was going to show you where you can find this, because I believe in transparency. And if you can't tell, I'm a numbers person. When I saw those stats from the U.S. News and World Report, I'm like, wait a minute, what does that mean? So if you go to DOE and you go here to State Board Data and Funding, School Quality Profiles, you can look up any school in the state of Virginia. You can type in the school division, or here I'll just type in the school. And it should start kind of auto-filling. There you go. I can see accreditation levels. I can go down here, pick my test, pick my subgroup. The bar across is the benchmark for the state. So I can look at any of that for any of my students. I can also, where we pull those that enrollment information was from here from each of the schools. We just looked them up. So enrollment, there's fall membership. I can click on racial and ethnic group, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, English learners. So it's a wealth of information. This is also where we pulled our college and career readiness. You can see diplomas and completions, 4-year Virginia on-time graduation. This is where we pull our AP data, post-secondary enrollment, and this is where we pull our CTE information. So we always want to be transparent with our information. All of the data that is on this page or on these pages, the test data comes straight from Pearson Access Next. That is the state testing platform. We don't submit that data. Our students take the test, and that data goes directly to that, and then it goes directly to the Department of Education. As far as attendance, CTE, all of that type of data, that comes from our student record collection, which is done 4 times a year, and our master schedule collection, which is submitted 3 times a year. Now, what we do is we track our data, so we have a checks and balance to make sure everything looks accurate, and the DOE does the same thing. But we don't submit that data for the testing. That comes straight from the state, from Pearson Access Next. They send us this information. I keep my own spreadsheets to check to see if I see any problems. And when I previewed it this year, I was like, everything looks like what I thought it looked like. So I said, that's just a checks and balance. We're working on it. We've been to school a month. So each school checks their attendance data probably weekly, bi-weekly. What we'll do is we'll check that quarterly at the division level. So I don't have that information right now, but I can tell you that's a top priority for our schools. And every school is doing a great job of having teams that look at this data regularly, reach out to parents. They have incentives for students. And again, we really work to find out, is there a problem? What supports can we provide? We need to get your students into school. That's where they're going to learn, they're going to be safe, and they'll be fed.
And Thursday, I mandated that every administrator turn in to me and TJ Slaughter, safety also does for truancy, the location of any student who's missing or who has not reported. Because believe it or not, we actually have parents who have kids and don't work well. You and Elsie on the legacies worked as a resource officer, but they will be turning in a sheet with every student that's missing, and those we will give over to authorities, social services, courts, and whatever we need to do to locate them. Because they're our responsibility until they check in somewhere else. So this is going to be very vital. That's due this Thursday, 22nd.
In the hiding children, it was heartbreaking last year for the students who came to us from other areas who had not been in school for a year and a half. They were just sitting at home. Yes, I would never seen that many cases of that. And that's heartbreaking.
Well, it hurts the students.
It does.
It
It does.
I mean, you're missing intentionally a year of school, and then many people in that neighborhood, including Ms. Gibbons, reported kids that they saw regularly, but they never showed up at school. So we had to go out and send the authorities. Some people ended up in court, and of course, once they do, it's out of our hands. The judge has to do whatever. But we're going to get them there, and we're going to account for every student personally this year. Have to.
I can tell you anecdotally, we've had principals who has gone and knocked on a door every day because the student wasn't at school. That's how personally we take it. So we know who they are, and we're looking for them, and we're working with the families to get them in school. But it's a national crisis. Because a lot of these students who have missed a year and a half or more came to us from either another state or outside of Martinsville. It's happening everywhere, and it's just, we can't let that pass. So we won't here in Martinsville.
Are there any questions about the test scores, grading, etc.? Yes, Aaron.
I have a
Yes, sir.
bunch, but I think I can wrap them all into one thing. I'm always trying to solve the highest level problem. How do we grow our area? How do we attract people here, businesses, groups, etc.? How do we overcome that sort of media? I have some ideas, which is maybe the right question to ask you, boss. What do we say and where do we say it?
Well, I think it's important that we say it in the meetings that we go to, and I think Callie is, bring her on board, doing some things with social media. Because, well, I like social media, and I don't. Just put that out there. But people read, and that's what we're trying to do, that campaign. We suffer from what first of all, we have a lot of improvement we need to do. Let me say the forefront. I'm not here thinking we're just made it. There's no way. We have a lot of improvement to do. But we suffer from Jesus Christ complex, what I call it, because we go to the region, schools are calling us, trying to see what our kids are doing, because with these demographics, they can't get those scores. I'm on the state board of UVA. They're asking what we're doing. I'm presenting next month to get these scores in the midst of what we're doing. I'm on the national board in Abbott in San Diego. They're asking, and you saw the YouTube presenting about our story, about how the factories closed, yet our kids are doing well. But, Jesus Christ himself said a prophet is without honor in his own country. I hate praying scripture, but really I don't hate. And that's what we suffer from. We're here. Everybody's so used to us now in the past 7 years being accredited, being this, being that. They say, oh, okay, another honor, and move on. But we got these people presenting at the state, and it's our staff. They're tremendous, as you can see. Presenting at state conferences, national conferences. What else does it take? We just don't, to me, honor what we're doing enough. We've got to get the information out there.
Yeah, so I
We've
know
got to.
how this will be received because the whole basis of this discussion is from a media outlet, but press releases and stuff like that. Even if you guys don't like them, we need to use every outlet that's available. So on Google's Martinsville, it should be slammed with press releases of so-and-so speaks and such, all of that stuff. So-and-so recognized for progress, whatever it is.
We're putting out articles every week now, every month, even one, which I'll give you just a little preview of how many of our students, actually alumni, that graduated from them, so excited about that, came back to teach for us. A lot of kids are not returning home to teach. I have three, and I wish all three of them would come back. The alumni here done well in education, but we're excited about things like that. If we can produce some of our own alumni who want to come back, so back into what we're doing, because what I love about this administration, it is interested in expanding margins and what we're doing. And it's a drawing card because when you want to look at the school division here, everybody can go to the BGOE website, which we have nothing to do with, and look at that data. We don't make it up, it's there, and compares. And so we want to do that. Not just be accredited, not just have 75% of our schools with triennial accreditation, which means we're going to be accredited for several years, automatically, because the state is saying we trust you. You know, we just want our people to trust us because it's fair. And you're right. We're into the social media posting, events. Albert Harris just won something dealing with, again, ecology. We just, whatever's coming up, Patrick Henry is getting ready to go and present. Every time we turn around, people being invited out. We don't go ask people if we can come. They invite us. So we just want to get all that good news out.
The debate club thing was cool. The diversity stuff was very cool.
And I think that's a very important question for us to reflect on and think on. You know, I'll just say, when I hear people in the community say, oh, well, you don't have CTE like so-and-so, I'm thinking, have you seen how many credentials, what the percentage we're getting compared to other places? Do you see that? So, you know, we're taking our kids and we're working with what we've got and we're looking for more. But I think people, they say things based off of things they hear and not what the numbers are.
You all were also, these things take time to catch up. There's a lag between reputation and progress.
Yes.
You all were getting quite a lot of bad reputation from previous folks.
Well, that's true too. And you know, it's okay. I want our young people and our teachers to get the credit they deserve because it's really the staff. It's really the teachers, man, the classroom teachers and the kids who take pride in being here that do this. Really, I don't care what programs you have. If kids and your staff won't buy into the fact that every young person will be educated, will behave and have a chance to achieve, then nothing we do will work. But this staff takes pride, and you know, I can't help but have a lot of pride, and I do. I brag a lot. I'm going to continue with that because we have a lot to talk about.
And I want to say our administrators too, they're working with students every day on restorative practices, work with them, talking to them, teaching them, you know, conflict management skills and things like that, because those are those soft skills at work. You know, if I can't work with other people, I'm not going to hold down a job. I don't care how smart I am. So I want to commend our administrators as well, because every time I go in there, they're sitting there talking to a student, talking about conflict resolution, communication and things like that. So there are a lot of life skills and academic skills that are taught in our schools.
I've seen us talk to kids who were mothers and seen administrators and guidance teachers talking to them to make sure that they walk across that stage and move on. We've had some great success stories with kids who have overcome a lot of difficulties and several homeless students. I was surprised at the rate of the increase in homeless students. And we take them because we are obligated in the law to take any homeless student, no matter what district they're in. It doesn't matter. And we honor that. And so we end up providing transportation, pick them up, bring them, to do whatever we
Get
can.
them clothes, make sure they have food.
Yeah, the other things that we do. And so I'm really proud of our staff and what they do.
We find that our local media is reluctant
Go ahead and say it.
to print positive articles that you all are submitting. Like, you stated, we've done all of that, we come back to work here. Okay, that would be a wonderful Saturday edition. Front page on what we're looking. Do you find that they are willing to do that? Or
We put out a lot of things. Callie can speak to that more than I can. We put out a lot of things, and my answer short would be yes. But Callie, say something to it.
And I'll step down. Thank y'all very much.
Thank
And I'm going to move away from that so I'm not like shouting into the microphone of our live stream. But I think that it varies. You know, since I came on board, I have been not only sending out a lot of press releases, but inviting local media to come to certain events. Like last year, our Lego Robotics tournament, I thought we could get a lot of reach for, and one news station showed up. But when I sent out the press release following that tournament, you know, I think we had 3 or 4. You know, I was very much hoping that after our school board meeting earlier this month talking about that U.S. News and World Report, that same publication might then follow up with the data that we shared. But there's been no story at all on sharing our numbers in that same publication. So It varies. You know, it can be a challenge, but I'm not worried about that challenge because our social media presence has grown exponentially in the last year. I was just checking our stats and the post that we made just on Sunday about the students at the Historical Society has reached almost 5,000 people, which almost tops the subscribership of our most widely read local newspaper. So, and that's just one post sharing one positive story. So, you know, I think we engage with our audience on the web. Our website redesign, where I also share all of our press releases, and I share them on social media too. That's where we get most of our reach. We're appreciative when our local media pick up our press releases, and many of them do a good job of doing that. WDBJ, particularly, you know, Henry County Enterprise, and the Bulletin does too.
Callie, don't you think that we get more invitations from local and regional TV? Because
Yeah.
we do a tremendous amount of interviews on news.
Yes.
Tremendous amount
Yeah.
of that than we do from our local news. We get all kinds of,
So you get more coverage on broadcast than you do.
oh, absolutely. The board knows because I'll text them when we're there so they can watch it. I mean, it's constant, you know, and it just even more to me. I mean, it's TJ, it's whoever's involved and whatever's going on at that time. So it's they cover us very well.
Dr. Town, can you, are we allowed to put, and I would assume we are, put the link to the Virginia State Board of Education link on our website so that when people visit our website, they can just click on that link and directly go to the data themselves? I just, is it on there already?
Yes, ma'am. There is a link directly to the school quality profiles.
Is it
And there's
somewhere
also
they can find it easily?
It's not a difficult website.
at the very least, there's a search function up in the corner there they can type in. But
ADOE.
yeah, but also the data that Mr. Wright presented, that is written up in the form press release on our news section on that website, and I believe the VDOE is linked right there too. So it's on our home page.
I just kind of perused it a second ago, was trying to find it, but I
Yeah.
couldn't find it, that's why I was
Yeah.
asking. I just want to make sure that, like, we're highlighting that as a school district, because our numbers are impressive, and we've done a lot of work, and I want parents and people from the public, or whoever, I want them to be able to visit our website and it just be right there, like, kind of in their face, so to speak. I want them to be able to have that link or that information where they can just see it, readily available to them.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like marketing ourselves. I just want to make sure that we
guys talk about this, it's easy for me to look right by the middle school. I can walk by the kids pet my dog and see the girls playing volleyball, see cheer practice. You're gonna floored me and blew me away when I went to middle school, watching those kids cheer each other. When I was in middle school, they were the meanest. I can't say the word I was gonna say. Seeing kids of that age clapping for each other, even the kids you could tell probably weren't particularly popular, to see them built up, that's awesome. So where I'm going with this is I'm not gonna say recommendation, I'm gonna float an idea to you guys. From working in a marketing agency and watching people smarter than me, you guys want to put together a real spiffy showcase of the schools with some heft to it, 5-10 minutes, maybe more, where it's a combination of you're showing the metrics relative to others in the area, whatever you deem the good metrics are, but also it gets some showcase of the kids. So you step in the school and see what the kids doing, and I make sure when I walk by, I'm doing this in every classroom to see what the kids are doing. And a lot of times they're teamed up with the best and working together, which is again incredible for middle school. I think that when people get to see what's going on in 2023 in our schools, you guys will crush a lot of that narrative with one effort. It'll just be a question of it percolating through the community.
If they really care, go to the Secretary of Education website, look on the SOLs, you go down, and you look at Martinsville schools, and there's a 111, there's 2, there's a 1111, then you look at some other localities, and you don't see those ones all the way across the board. Doesn't bother to look. If they can look, they can see.
Well, that's one of the things we discussed at our board retreat in Charlottesville, is the misconception of things, and what you're saying about the 70s and 80s, and it's true. People are still bringing up a football game that happened before I was born, and that's why they don't get along, I mean, and they're still living there, and that, but we discussed at length exactly what Heather was saying, you know, we all are out there passionately saying, you know, this is not the case, or saying things, we need to find a way for it to get out there. That's why we were very disheartened with the article in the paper, but especially after Mr. Wright did take all the time to combat that and have it positive, that we didn't answer immediately because we needed time to have our facts together. But it was a shame that that was not, the board meeting was not covered in our local news. And so therefore, all that was done, they had no way of knowing unless they joined us on Facebook.
What I got to get what they get in mind is in a lot of things. And then a lot of these negative articles. So I think you be aware of that and kind of count that as a thing. So you got I know about the schools and everything, Rona and they want to say about negative president. I think that's a while. This thing out there.
Callie, thank you, by the way, for everything you've done so far on our social media and everything else. I was not saying what I said to anything towards you. You've done amazing, and I appreciate everything that you've done up to this point, everything that you're helping us with. I just really want us to really think about what we can do to gear ourselves in a way to start marketing our schools better, and not just on a state level or national level, but here locally. There's a lot of misconception here in our own local community. And unfortunately, you know, some of those misconceptions, they affect our local enrollment. And I would like to see our kids coming back to our schools and being proud to be in school here because, you know, maybe mom or dad sitting at home is thinking we're not doing as well as our neighbors. So I really want us to market ourselves in a way, you know, like Mr. Wright has said, you know, competition, it is what it is, it's there. We love our neighbors, we love our county schools, you know, we have nothing against them, we love them, but we just want to see our kids in our schools here, and not going out to other districts where they, you know, think they're going to get better opportunities, whatever the case may be. We want them to know that they're going to get the same level of education, the same quality of education, the same opportunities right here in their own backyard.
Or better.
Or
Exactly.
better.
That's what we want.
Or better. So that is why I feel this passion as a, not are choosing to go to other school districts rather than staying in their own. So I appreciate everything that you're doing.
And 90% of that is local. Because when you go to UVA, Tech, and the universities, what does it say about us? They said, please send a team to present. They're not having problems with us. We here are having problems with us. And we know what that's about. It's about SES, it's about demographics. So it is what it is. It's okay to say it, but they're not having that problem there because these guys are presenting on the state and national level. They're not having a problem. People don't come to you to present when you don't have anything on. They've got all kinds of places they can go. And I would agree. We just will continue, and Callie's done a great job just getting social media, doing recruitment things, stories like I'm not coming back. We're just going to continue. But my main thing is the kids and the teachers, administrators deserve the credit for what they've done. And they've done a tremendous job. And continue to do. It hasn't just ended. They continue to do a tremendous job.
Ms. Waller.
I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Middle school.
Back in school and you're a student again. Yes, ma'am.
I think it, says what, Vice Mayor, Rob, just coming to school. I think, I was a student at Martinsville City School. I graduated from Martinsville City High School. I'm being honest, I was involved. I mean, I was in the band for all 4 years. I was in the choir. I ran track. I was on homecoming. And I can't really say I remember seeing the superintendent walk in. I can't say I remember seeing city council walking. You know, we had more people in the area. There were more jobs. It wasn't just, oh, they thought the school was bad, but it was more jobs. But now we do, like when you come in, like when you came and spoke, that was our first assembly. That was our first school-wide assembly. I had only been with it in the break. So when Ms. Lee put it together and she invited Callie, and she was inviting Bulletin too, and I was like, let's hold up Bulletin because this is our first assembly, and I don't want something to go wrong and it's something negative comes out. They did great. That was so prep. That's just what when Dr. Talley comes, he doesn't tell me he's coming, and I'm like, hey, go. Where can I go? Anywhere, because you just want to see what we're doing every day. Yes, unfortunately, sometimes students capture the wrong thing on their phone, right? And that's what gets put out, and that's what everybody sees. But they don't see that, hey, that was one time in a month. Or maybe we had 3 in a month. Or maybe caught 2 bad moments in 1 week, but nothing happened for another 4 weeks. But you don't see what we're doing every day, minute by minute, hour by hour. And I think when we say what we're doing, because Dr. Talley does come to my building every day. Someone at the central office from my building every day. Mayor Jones comes by at least once a week. So when they say it, because they see it, but then it's like, oh, you used to work there, or you work there. You're of course you're going to say it. Anybody, I encourage you all on the city council, on the school board, come by anytime you want. Anytime you want and see what's going on. You might catch a kid in the office, but like, Dr. Talley said,
Ainsley.
you're going to see us talking to them like individuals. You know, trying to teach them the right and wrong, a life lesson. So we ain't going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to act like anybody in trouble. I'll get you with guess anything if you're wrong. Because we have to be real. We have to give them consequences. But you're also going to see why you might see someone in the office. You're going to see 16 classes learning, doing some hands-on fun. That's going to encourage you to be like, okay, hope, as he said, or there's things, but we need more people to come out. We used to do Shadow Your Child Day. We don't have that anymore. You know, they'll come out to the event, and let's be real, in competition, things gonna get heated. So then they see, again, sometimes the wrong thing. Come out and see them. Come out and see them speaking, working together. So but sometimes we gotta start small and let it grow out. So I encourage people right up here, come more often. Don't come when the schools are
sign in the business for safety and security now. We have people sign in or whatever, but that's always been a policy. You notify the principal that you're there, because of the fact that anytime we have guests, that's protocol. Virginia School Board profile policy. But you're welcome. And you don't tell us what you're doing. I prefer not. I tell you, like I told my administrators when they evaluated me, you come to my class, you can come any day you want. Every day I'm going to be teaching. So every day we're going to have school. And there's no way you can judge us on one visit anyway. You might pick the perfect day, everybody was an angel. Then you might pick a day that somebody had a weekend party and they mad at school. Or full moon. That's right. You might pick, but come several times. Come. I never close those doors. Go on the lock them at the end of the day.
You do have to close them.
Yeah, we do. We have to have security.
But that's the laws.
Yeah, we have to do that in all the schools.
Thank you for letting me participate. But I do think if you see it, you'll believe it. And if y'all tell it, the right thing.
That's all of our schools, any of them.
That's a good segue into the discussion. You guys on the board have questions or council have questions that you can talk about?
I'd like to start the open discussion if you don't mind. So I would, we obviously came here tonight to be as a collaborative effort. We want to see what we can do to help each other, work with each other, to help improve schools, help improve our community. So I would like to kind of hear from you guys, the council, like what your thoughts are, what you think maybe you can help us with in certain areas, how you think we can benefit each other working together like this. Because I do think it's important. I think it's very important that anywhere in the U.S., I think it's really important we have local government working with your school boards. We're not here to not get along with each other. We're here to get along with each other for the betterment of our community as a whole, which includes our schools. We all know that when you're talking about housing and you're talking about moving people to this area, as somebody that's left this area twice and come back, I can tell you that the first thing I looked at when I left, when I chose a place to live in other states in North Carolina and Tennessee, the first thing I looked at as a mom was the school district. That is how I picked where I was going to live, was the school district. It was the first thing I looked at. Also, like the next thing was job availability and conveniences. But for me, education is super important. So a lot of families, when they are moving or they're looking to an area to come to, they're looking at a few things. They're looking at job availability. They're looking at, housing. They're looking at schools. If they are a family, they are absolutely looking at the school district. It is going to be a determining factor most of the time for parents on where they think to live. So I would just like to ask you guys to give us your feedback.
And I recommend that we flip that. What could we get with you guys? What would you like to ask? I'm with you, you can certainly ask things, but you have the uninformed asking things that are informed. It's kind of a backwards way to do this. We just want to make sure you all showcase yourselves. We've been through that. Plenty of times.
So we're very, very green with this. So.
All right.
It might be something we might not know.
All
So
right.
just,
The one thing, Heather, that, and I agree with you, flip it, so I'd love to hear more from you all, even the veterans, or however you want to term it, board members. But, one thing that I think is really key to all this is open, honest, consistent communication. I think, communication has been an issue in the last few years, but I feel like we're on a positive trend and we're repairing relationships. And we all know why those issues occurred, and we have to say, okay, let's move forward as one. Because like you said, we have to work together. So I think that is key because, we represent the citizens of Martinsville, and they elected us to do so. And so hopefully we're out there all the time, they're talking to us. So just like you all reviewed with us today, I want to be able to go back to them with factual information, because I'm a research fact-based nerd, so I would,
also telling, I already kind of have an understanding about it, just the problem level of our school systems and what you guys are facing with that students. And I think it puts your responsibility back on us as council to figure out what it is to solve that issue. Because if we can get more students with more resources, more parents with more resources, whether it be jobs, housing, transportation, it's a plethora of things in the community that they are facing, our student body is facing, that affects a child before they get to school. And when they get to school, you guys are doing everything you can to help them get an education. So I think just self-reflection and data tells us that we've got a lot of work to do.
Can I ask just a somewhat of a follow-up question there? I know, Dr. Kelly, you mentioned you have to take, homeless children no matter where.
That's not state law.
Do you know how many, homeless children you have in your school?
That would be a Felicia question. Cynthia, Dr. Carver, do you have an idea about what percentage of homeless kids we have? Because I know it's more of a
I don't know
Felicia.
what percentage, no, but here lately we've got an influx of homeless students in our division. A lot of it's coming through agencies who are in our division, and they are kind of recruiting for parents in our locality to house these homeless students. But I don't have a number, Dr. Kelly, but it's been a number of students at each school come into our division.
May I ask the definition of the word locality? Is that Martinsville or is that the region?
I'm sure both of Martinsville, definitely.
And see, once they're homeless, the state law says that they can operate in school that they wish. And so, of course, even if we could deny them, we won't deny them anyway, because we want the kids to be in school. The parent may move the next month to another city, but for that time that they're there, they're out. And we're, of course, going to take care of them. For instance, if you don't look at the homeless situation, if you can't decide to sit there, special needs students on, we could do that. There's no way I can turn down students with special needs, having people in my family with special needs, and I want every child to get a chance to have education. I couldn't do that. I don't know how they did it, but I couldn't do it because we have to service those young people. So,
Dr. Kelly, that situation, we had a partnership with Lincoln County for several years, and we had a regional partnership. So some of their students with disabilities came to Martinsville, and some of ours went to Lincoln County. And they could no longer sustain the partnership last school year. So in the middle of the school year, our students had to come back to Martinsville, which presented a huge issue with funding and cost and finding teachers. So that's kind of what Dr. Talley's talking about. He said they came back, but they could no longer sustain our partnership, our regional partnership. So our students came back to Martinsville in the middle of the school year. So we had to find teachers and other resources to educate them. And these are students with intensive needs. So that's one of the issues that we dealt with last school year.
Well, we had to go find a special bus to transport them because a lot of them had needs and there's some needs of transportation. So it was kind of a surprise that happened in November of last year. Is that accurate?
we have the best students that Martinsville have to offer. That's one thing about public school. We accept all students. We educate all students. We clothe, feed, whatever we need to all students. Because when you talk to the police chief, you'll understand our kids are in school at night, roaming the streets, breaking into business. They're here. We want to educate them because we don't want them to go somewhere else and be, incarcerated or whatever.
Speaking of that,
Yes, sir.
we didn't get deep into the district. What does it look like? What are we doing? What do we do?
I'm happy to report that the State Department, again, the BDO is, you can see, has its handprints everywhere, has a category called persistently dangerous schools. These are schools like that, its own definition, where you have a lot of violence, criminal acts in schools, and they designate them. We've never been classified that. I don't care what people say here, because again, BDO is not to be partial to us. They don't love us that much. If we were persistently dangerous, at that category. And so discipline here is just like discipline in any school. It's pretty much an urban school. We have weeks and months without conflicts. We have weeks and months that we have a lot of conflicts. First of all, the major things for me, is things like fights and drugs. Drugs, we have treatment. We recommend them to Piedmont and go through the counseling piece. Fights, students have counselors, and then now personally, even though it takes away a little bit from what I would love, my love is being in schools, as they can tell you, they see too much of me. But my love is being in schools and classrooms. But I meet individually with grandparents, unfortunately, parents, sometimes older siblings who are raising, and we have that talk. In the years past, I usually would say that at the end of the year, because that's when spring comes and everybody gets hyped. But I decided this year to just start initially. And so we've only had like 2 fights in the school. You know, but if we have one, it gets blown up like it's 100 of them. But we, all those students have to come to council. All those students have to come to me. And so to keep from the attendance being bad, we also have what we call SAP, where we can suspend them a certain number of days out of school, but then bring them to an alternative ed setting and let them work their way out while they're there. City council's there, get them work, and then I walk through over there too, because I like to be a part of every part facet of what we're doing. And we talk to them, and have to have conflict resolution, and we do some things. Cynthia does some things in her department with
And
the council.
across the division, our goal is to reduce suspensions. And so you mentioned restorative practices. And persons can jump in here. They do a lot with restorative practice. They have mentors in the building. We have TBT counselors with students who are the most volatile, students who tend to have some of the major issues with. They have counselors who are this school year doing nothing but counseling for most of their school day. We have PBIS, positive behavior interventions and supports, in which we do check-ins with students daily. We've done a universal screener. I think you all have done the first round of that, so we can identify those students who may be having some issues, and we can address those problems immediately. So there are a number of things that our schools and our principals have in place of doing incentives, all sorts of incentives. But we want students to be restorative practices, to understand that they are accountable for their decisions, and to know how to repair the harm that they've caused, how to build those relationships, and to keep from doing those same behaviors over and over again. So we have these counselors come in working with them for the first time. This school, she came in the second half of last school year. We have a behavior interventionist who's also going into the schools, working with students, coaching teachers, doing behavior intervention plans and assessments. So we have a lot of different supports in our schools to help our students who are experiencing these issues. Now, we have a lot to learn, and we want to do better, and that's why all of our goals is to reduce our suspension rate across the division. Even division-wide goal is to increase that suspension rate.
And that's part of our annual goals, is for each school to reduce suspensions by 10%. And that's important because students don't learn well at home. I mean, I know that's profound. Everybody talks about the fact that kids miss school. Of course they don't learn as well without teachers. So our goal is to talk about the behavior, to use counseling. I love the check-ins that the elementary schools especially do. They have a certain amount of kids assigned to them individually, and they have mornings where they come in and just see how that student's day is going. Was there something at home? Was there something you did this weekend? Talk to me. I love the type of counseling that rather than being reactive and say we're going to just suspend everybody. We don't want to go there, and we track it, and every month at the end of the month with Dr. Bond, we have a meeting where we talk about what we're doing, where we have the problems, have interpreters, we have translation of documents, we have ESL instructors, our documents are translated to Spanish or whatever the language needs to be in an effort to pull in those parents. And several of the schools have nights where they come. Yes.
I was gonna say, we do a lot of work with our families, and if you look at our data, our Hispanic and English learners and students are doing very well. We work very hard to build relationships with the families and have special events for them, to make sure they're getting the information and the supports they need. So that's, because that is a growing population, that's an area of focus for us, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. I can tell you several of our staff members, including myself, are working to learn Spanish because it was several years ago, and I was in, I think it was Albert Harris in the front office, and there were two parents who spoke no English bringing their kindergartner to school. And in my heart, I thought, how terrifying would it be for me as a parent to hand my child over to people that I couldn't communicate with. So we have many of our staff members, teachers, administrators, like I said, I'm doing it myself, who are working to learn to speak Spanish so we can communicate and help build those relationships with them. Because far be it from me to serve a community that I can't speak to a large number of people.
In regards to recruitment of teachers, how many open positions do you currently?
We're excited. We started off with 30. I want to really talk to it. I think we're down to 9 teachers. 9. So we're
We
really
just went to Jump Fair
glad.
last week. At Winston-Salem State, Ms. Waller, Dr. Brown, Dr. Dixon, I went to Winston-Salem State. We talked to a couple of teachers. Now, some of them, they come through the job fair and they come as like seniors or juniors. Sophomores and juniors. How many seniors do we see? Like 2 seniors, but I gather their information, and what I do is year to year, I just send a reminder about Martinsville City Public Schools. Here's some information that's going on in our division. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And then when they graduate, I then follow back up with them again, like, hey, it's me again. Congratulations, I know you're ready to graduate. I would love to have you walk me to the area. And I kind of give them stats. I got Callie make like a flyer that just talks about, the cost of living in Martinsville is lower than some of the other areas. It's a hometown feel. It's a family-oriented area. You don't have to worry about the big city traffic, like the pros and how, but if you want to commute somewhere, Greensboro's an hour, Roanoke's an hour, Lynchburg's an hour. And I send that information out to them as they get ready to graduate. And, we've had some that come from the job fairs, some workers. We have one who commutes from Greensboro. Well, we have teachers who commute from Bedford, Lynchburg, Danville, Greensboro, Winston, Roanoke, South Boston. Yes, it's Lynchburg. Yeah, Lynchburg. Yeah, they commute in every day and then go back out.
That's a nationwide issue.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I mean, we have
We're
people who
good.
will drive through 3 other divisions to come here and work.
And Travis will tell you it's a budgetary issue too. In the past, we may end up with like 20, 30 vacancies. So that money is turned back to the city council. People think, oh, you didn't spend it. No, we weren't able to hire, but with the budget cut this year, plus we're really hiring teachers, it's going to be very little payroll, I tell you, because of the fact we are trying to fill up every classroom. And think about it, the young people learn best when the teacher-student ratio is best. And that's what we want. We want that. So money is that to hire. We want to hire about from 30 to about 9. So we're still hiring. We have promises of 2 more teachers at the end of the semester because, as you know, some schools graduate in December. So we're looking for those numbers to go down.
You mentioned undocumented
Yes, and I guess they can become documented. What you have, a lot of times you'll have a flow of people actually who are out of the country who are emailing you that they'd like to come to USFT, and we don't pay for visas or anything. There has to be a process, whereas we know that they can come in legally be here, because you don't want them here and then some embarrassing situation where they're escorted off. But you know, that would help, because Spanish is definitely there. There's a need for Spanish teachers, Hispanic, people who speak Spanish especially. But so yeah, we go through the process, and we would go through and see if they could become documents.
And we do have some who have come in as substitute teachers and picked up with a long-term sub, and they reach out to my department and we tell them like what classes that they need to become licensed teachers. Yes, we help. I mean, we guide them through the steps. Like, here's the schools you can go to. Here are the classes you need to take. And I mean, we're building teachers.
Yeah.
When Dr. Sally mentioned students that are hiding, it's not just undocumented students.
Yeah.
Coming out of COVID, a lot of parents didn't want to send their children back. And so we saw a lot of kids at home during the day that should have been in our schools, which the parents just didn't feel comfortable. And unfortunately, a lot of parents are still very frightened because there is reason to be understand about the sending your children back when they are raised by their grandparents. The grandparents still going to be exposed to this. So we're still trying to get those folks and find them and get them back.
Yes, sir.
To Heather's statements about enrollment, there's also a myth underlying those particular data points as well. There may be city students going to other schools. There are also other school students coming to us. The bigger picture issue isn't that we're sharing students among the local schools. It's more of a much larger economic basis to the picture. I've analyzed the region for about 13 to 15 school systems, all those contiguous in an arc to the North Carolina border around our zone. And for the last 12, 13 years, I can tell you definitively, that region, we collectively are sharing in the loss around an average of 550 students per year. So they're not going from us to Henry County. We see in the paper that a misprint oftentimes is we're talking about different data points. One data point we presented as we are above budgeted enrollment. We presented as we are above enrollment. No, you're not. You're above your budgeted enrollment. Your budgeted enrollment may very well, for another school district near us, may very well be below what they had the year before. Meaning, they actually lost students. So if they're really taking their students, then why are they losing students also in the net? They're not. Our region is losing the students. So we need an economy that will support those families and help provide jobs to keep them here. And all of the local school districts can flourish more with their student body and bring more funding to their school districts and localities as well. So that's really the bigger picture issue. It's not so much that, they're not running to the school districts because of poor performance or anything else. It's economic. And they're leaving the region, they're leaving the rural part of Virginia, and often cases the other rural areas of the whole nation, moving into the cities and more suburban areas where they can obtain those jobs that we're not able to provide. And that's
We got a lot of there's some good data here too. Cardinal News is a reasonably trusted news source. Southern Virginia, particularly this part of our state, is growing like wildfire. And we have more jobs than we have people by far. It's essentially a new frontier that we are in where we have, it used to be all these places were running around lamenting they couldn't get the jobs to get the people. We have so many jobs and not enough people that we've got sites to bring a company that will bring $1 billion investment and 2,500 workers, but our EDC has to tell them, whoops, sorry, we won't provide the best 500 workers on the bus under the state. We actually have that reversed here. I think your overall point, definitely not arguing. I follow what you're saying. I'm just saying the opportunity is here, and the reason I'm kind of going at this emphatically is I want you all to know that there is no external factor excuse we've got here. We have all the opportunity in the world to
Okay.
And with 1 year, you can start financing, because you can prove you'll have that income, that income coming in, and it's gonna be dependable. So you don't have to bank your money for 10 years. You can basically say, we pass it, and get started.
Yeah, and that's important because even our gym safety issue that we have, and it is everybody understands now, it is a safety thing. It's not just, we want a gym, we do want one, but it's safety. And you guys have been present, so you know what that's about.
I will just let you
I
know.
will take it.
You certainly put a smile on my face.
I know that's right.
We still have to pass it.
We've got to pass it.
It's gonna pass.
But it,
Hey, put it out there.
I will tell you all.
that we're looking.
Proper way.
Sure.
Because if you tell, if it's not presented in the proper way to our voters, then they're gonna say, oh, they're just gonna vote us with another tax. It's a consumption tax, and it's not just people who live in the city. It's anyone who shops in the city.
Right.
And that includes our people that come in for races, for the soccer complex, or whatever the need is that they're coming into our community. This is something that collectively everyone is contributing to with just a purchase. You're gonna make that purchase.
Well, we're excited.
Well, in reality, how will we do about it? Obviously not by voting.
Paralegal has the questions to answer. I didn't bring enough copies, I'm sorry guys, but I will print these and I'll get them to everybody. This is the section code of Virginia that talks about the specific tax. It is 58.1-605.1, and it does break down the, process in which it has to get on the referendum and how many days that you have to do it, how many days you have to run. So you actually have to run an ad in the paper for anybody that didn't know this, 3 weeks prior to the election, that breaks down, it has to go through the clerk of circuit court. So this statute, these 2 pages right here, pretty much tell us everything we need to know about this process and how it has to come about and how it has to get on the ballot. I will scan this in my email tomorrow and I will shoot out an email to everybody so they have a copy of this.
I think we have a preliminary step where we have to go to the General Assembly first.
Units.
Yeah.
And it talks about all this stuff in here, so I will shoot it to everybody on the city council and the school board so that everybody has a copy of this.
So safe to say it will not be this November. based
Ah.
on-
So if you guys, if you can get us that video, I will be honored to go out and campaign for this. I don't know if anyone cares what I have to say, but I will work super hard to get it done. If I get that really cool video that's showcasing our schools so I can show them to people why we need this, that would certainly help.
You know, we have great facilities, we're very proud of our facilities,
Yes.
we maintain our facilities. Our schools are far superior to so many other localities. We just wanna make sure that we have the funds to keep them that way. And I think we're still paying that on 2 school renovations, and by the time we get those 2, we'll need something else. So it'd be good to have a resource that is a contribution, not just, certain taxes.
We're very appreciative that we'll do all we can to keep that positive flow going and the idea of expanding this community and what we do here. So that's really exciting.
Questions? Sure, we can talk all night. If there are no other questions, council will take a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, we want to tell you that there's a swag in front of each one of your places that Ms. Smith put together and passed them out to us exclusive. Gifts, I guess. Thank you. And also our homecoming week, our homecoming game was Friday night at Dave Reed Stadium. We're welcome to join us, and I'm sure we can recognize.
Yeah, we're planning to recognize you, so hopefully
And there's
everybody
a
can come.
report.
Hopefully we'll get it done. But the class of 1983